I'm Carolee Mitchell from MasterCard Worldwide, and I'm here with Marilyn Bochicchio, CEO of Paybefore, at the Prepaid Conference at Las Vegas. Hi Marilyn, how are you?
I am doing great, Carol. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. So Marilyn, tell us a little bit about Paybefore. You have sort of this unique position within the industry, and maybe you could share it with our viewers here.
Sure, there's nothing I love more than to talk about Paybefore, as you well know. We're a family of trade publications, and we deal exclusively with prepaid and emerging payments topics. And we publish to our subscribers almost every day of the year, every business day in the United States. So we're constantly performing the function of sending out news, analysis, and information about everything that's going on.
That's great.
So we love what we do because this is such a dynamic area.
And you're a global entity?
Paybefore is indeed global. We write about prepaid programs wherever they are in the world. We always say we don't care what the source of a program is. I don't care if it's in India or Canada or the United States or Latin America. If it's a good program, if our readers can learn something from it, we want to put it out there so that we can cross-fertilize the whole industry in that way.
That's fantastic. In terms of what you see happening as it relates to trends in the prepaid industry, maybe you can talk a bit about emerging market trends and then compare that and contrast that to developed market trends.
Oh my goodness, and that's a tough question because there's so much happening. I think that we are seeing consumers being accepting of prepaid, and of course we don't position, or we shouldn't be positioning these services to consumers as prepaid. They are products and services that solve problems. So we're seeing consumers accept those kinds of benefits from prepaid, and even though they don't know that they're using them, we're seeing that grow tremendously. So I think that's a great trend. I think what's really interesting these days, and it's not only in the United States, but you're seeing it in the UK in particular, and it's starting to spread throughout Europe, the B2B implications, where businesses can use prepaid to solve problems that other payment mechanisms don't. And what always amazes me, I mean, as much as I live, breathe, and sleep prepaid, I come to events like this, I am always learning about new applications, and that excites me tremendously. So I think those are some of the things that we're seeing, and of course, it's very exciting to start hearing about the mobile implications. I know you at MasterCard are really on the forefront and doing some very interesting work in that area. And you know, nobody is there yet, and nobody's saying we're there yet, but that's one area that is going to just revolutionize so much. I don't even think we know how big of an impact it's going to make, not only in payments, but in people's lives.
And also, as it relates to trends, there's a lot of activity happening in the regulatory space.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your point of view in the regulatory environment?
You know, in the United States, you know, we're not in a particularly good place, and I don't like to say negative things, but we have been hit all over the place. And right now, I think something that financial institutions, issuers, and sellers of prepaid, as well as retailers, are struggling with are FinCEN's final prepaid access rule. So I think that's a huge challenge. We also, if we look out on the regulatory horizon, there are some other things that are going to be coming at us. But I think there is good news in that, because I think that with what is coming, what we know that's coming, I'm hoping that we've finally gotten over that hump, and that we have to implement a lot. We have to make sure that we are designing products that are compliant in every sense. I mean, we have to not only comply with the spirit of the law, we have to go beyond the letter of the law and comply with the spirit. And I think that's incumbent upon all good people in prepaid to do. It's unfortunate that we're here, but you know, I'm seeing tremendous resilience, I'm seeing great solutions, and I think when we come out of this period, we really are going to be better as an industry for what we've gone through, and stronger.
Good, good. I'm interested in your point of view as it relates to B2B, B2B distribution for prepaid products and services, and specifically what you see happening in the healthcare and wellness environments, and if that if that's innovation or if that's something that's already happening in the marketplace, or what's your point of view around that?
As a dedicated FSA card user, I think that prepaid and healthcare have intersected long ago. I don't know if anybody has actually tried to use a flexible spending account without having that card as a vehicle, but it's the card that makes it important. But are you really talking about, as incentives and that kind of functionality in health and wellness?
As it relates to healthcare solutions, one of the hypotheses we have around HSA, FSA programs is that it's going to converge with B2B solutions as it relates to corporate business incentives, rebates, even at the public sector level, distribution-wise for Medicare, Medicaid. And we see a lot of technology as it relates to how to manage information that has to be transacting through networks and consumer information that needs to be protected in a different way. I was just curious from your standpoint if you were seeing any new trends as it relates to technology, as it relates to products and services, bundled opportunities, or things of that nature.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Yesterday at Paybefore Awards, we recognized Incom and Medigate for their program. Right. And I had the opportunity to speak actually with the president of Medigate a couple of weeks ago. And I'm not a person who lives in that kind of an environment, but what they are doing to work with third-party processors, TPAs in that area, to make it more economical for them to deliver healthcare services. I mean, these cards are making it possible to wring some of the waste out of the Medicare and Medicaid systems so that actually more of that can be used to building our health. So again, I think we're very early stages, and we have to understand that we are dealing with a healthcare system that is incredibly complex. So these kinds of changes and efficiencies aren't going to happen overnight, but we can see the seeds, and those seeds are starting to grow. And I think you mentioned a very important point. It's like, today we're kind of seeing somewhat isolated functionality, but the whole idea is convergence and helping consumers have convenient access and kind of interactive access to all of the benefits that they deserve. And I just think it's going to be better for all of us.
One of the things, switching topics a little bit but related, is what are your thoughts about EMV coming into the U.S.?
Oh, wow. This is
EMV has arrived.
EMV has arrived, and it's been a long time in coming. I've been in this business for a really long time. Sure. And it was always, the United States will get on EMV when fraud losses reach such a point that it's economically viable. And I don't think that ever happened. I mean, in large part to what you and some of the other networks have done about, building different kinds of systems to protect the infrastructure in the United States. So I don't think we ever got to the fraud tipping point. Sure. But because of how payments have developed around the world, I mean, the United States is kind of being surrounded by countries that are requiring EMV. So we're put in a certain situation of either having to move in that direction or just be out of step for the rest of the world. So, I think this is like 20 years and it's really going to happen. Now, I was having a conversation just last night, and this is like the benefit of being in an environment about this. It's like, what is EMV really going to mean to prepaid, though? And I don't think I've got the answers. It's a story that we're going to be working on because I think it's going to be fascinating. Because the cost of a chip, even with increased volumes, you're driving that cost down. That card is going to be more expensive than a simple magstripe card. And with profit margins being squeezed in many areas, what are we going to do with the chip? What is going to be the dollar threshold or the length of life of that card or the reloadability that's going to make that a candidate for a chip? But these are all converging issues that are coming together, but you're leading the way in that.
And you guys will tell us.
And we'll tell you.
You'll tell us.
We'll see if we can figure it out.
Right. I'm curious, just because of the standpoint of being involved in so many different types of stories and driving and writing about our industry at large, what's the most interesting, most fascinating thing you've come across of late?
Oh, you're going to think this answer is really, really silly. It's the people. It's the people in prepaid. And we are, and you're included in this group, we are passionate about what we're doing because we understand that prepaid is a better service, a better payment mechanism for consumers, businesses, and governments. And we have been creative and revolutionary in introducing this entirely new concept that really didn't exist until about 10 years ago. And sometimes we say, oh, things haven't moved as quickly as we hoped. What we have done in 10 years is really moved a mountain. And I am just continually fascinated by the people who make that happen, and the intelligence and the passion and the ingenuity, and how they're really dedicated to making this a better place for all of us.
So I want to thank you, Marilyn, for joining me here today and really providing us with your insight.
I really appreciate it, and it's a pleasure always to be with you.